Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of whatever the name of this show is going to be. I don't even know it's going to be a show. It's going to be some. Welcome. So this type of video, I'm just going to be talking about different stuff that's going on in the games industry. Things that people are talking about, gamers are talking about, and, see if it matters to any of you. See if it matters at all. And the first topic that we have on hand right here, by the way, good morning and cheers. This is a freshly pulled shot of espresso. Let's taste it. Nutty. The topic that we have at hand here today, the issue of current gen consoles and 60 FPS. Does it fucking matter? Now, this issue has arisen with the release of Gotham Knights and A Plague Tale Requiem. These games in particular have come out with only a 30 FPS mode without the option for a 60 FPS mode. And every game that has come out since the inception of the Series X and Series S consoles and the PS5, well, not every game, but most games have had the option for 60 FPS. And now console gamers are worried that this might set the stage for future games, which will predominantly run at 30 FPS, which I personally don't think that's going to be the case. But going back to the question, does it matter that console players only get 30 FPS and not 60 FPS? Should it be mandatory that there is at least an option for 60 FPS? For games on consoles? I think for the short answer, yes. The biggest complaint about last-gen consoles, the Xbox One and the PS4, was that their CPUs were underpowered, and because of how slow they weren't able to provide games with a nice 60 FPS update that would give them overall just a much more responsive feel and a smoother look. The benefits of 60 FPS are quite apparent. Now, current-gen consoles can run at 60 FPS and even 120 frames per second at times. And when you market that, we expect that, right? We expect the 60 FPS update at least as an option, if not as the base mode of gameplay. Obviously, considering what current gen consoles can provide, it's almost difficult to find reasons why devs wouldn't at least provide an option for 60 FPS, aside, from difficulties presented by the game development process, which brings me to Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights has had a pretty rough marketing stint before its release, a pretty rough advertising stint before its release. With the way the game was being advertised up until release, people didn't really like it, and then they kind of ended it off with hey, by the way, this game isn't gonna run at 60 FPS. We won't offer a 60 FPS mode. It's just gonna run at 30 FPS. All the stuff that you kind of dragged through the mud, you took a on it. People didn't like that, and according to Digital Foundry, there are some optimization issues that are occurring within Gotham Knights that don't allow it to hit 60 FPS on consoles, and even on PC, it's having struggles hitting 60 FPS. So that's kind of the case with Gotham Knights. It's a poorly optimized game, but on the other side of things, there is A Plague Tale Requiem, where we do see kind of like a silver lining, so to speak, as to why games would be 30 FPS on these current gen consoles, and that's pushing the visual envelope further. Yes, a 60 FPS experience is smooth, it's nice, it's responsive, but a 30 FPS experience in future games, and even, I guess in A Plague Tale Requiem, and even in the Unreal Engine 5 demo, the Matrix demo, a 30 FPS update kind of implies a higher visual fidelity. Right, there's more things to render on screen, things that are expensive to render, like ray tracing. And so the whole idea behind that is because the developers are pushing the visual fidelity and the visual envelope further, performance is going to drop, inevitably, right? But also, on the flip side of that is, can developers reduce visual settings so that we can at least have the option for 60 FPS, which is a very, very valid thing to say. It's a very, very valid argument for sure. So in the case of 30 versus 60 FPS for games going forward from this point on, you need to look at it from a case-by-case, game-by-game basis, right? There might be an optimization problem happening. In that case, it's kind of like, yeah, that's on the devs for sure. That's pretty rough. But there's also going to be cases where, wow, this game looks so amazing. Like, wow, this game looks great, And it's running at 30 FPS, and it's a smooth 30 FPS. Another example of that is Forza Horizon 5. The 30 FPS mode on Forza Horizon 5 is really smooth, and it looks good. Almost to the point where I prefer it over the 60 FPS mode, just because it's smooth, it's responsive, it's smooth. They did a lot of, like, the devs at Playground Games did a lot of things right with Forza Horizon 5 running at 30 FPS on the Xbox Series X. It looks amazing. It plays amazing. Another thing to add here, and this is more to do with, like, does it matter if a game runs at 30 or 60 FPS when the game itself is really fun? Just as an example, you know, you have Forza Horizon 5, which at 30 FPS is really fucking fun. I mean, but also, to be fair, very polished game. Another example would be Halo 3. Halo 3 played at 30 FPS regardless of mode, whether you were playing multiplayer or campaign, or you're playing local co-op with friends. This next example is probably a bigger kind of advocate for, like, who cares if you're playing at 30 or 60. When I was playing Borderlands 2 with my friends way back when, I sound so fucking old, we would play on laptops that would run the game at 15 FPS. Like, minimum 15 FPS. Maximum probably around, like, 30, maybe 25, 27-ish FPS. But point being, we didn't really care about the performance. It was a lot of fun. Or if the game experience is polished and it's super fun, and at the end of the day that's all you're having is just a shit ton of fun, 30 FPS, 60 FPS doesn't really matter, in my opinion. To kind of wrap things up, we should at the very least get a 60 FPS option, if not 60 FPS being the main way to play the game. Microsoft and Sony have marketed their consoles as 60 FPS machines. They can run they can run games at 60 FPS. They have the power. Their Zen 2 AMD processors have the power to do so. And ideally, we get them. Those are my 2 cents. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed something. You know, maybe I might have missed out on a perspective that I could have talked about. Maybe I missed out on a chance to talk about something else. Or maybe I missed out on a game that also runs at 30 FPS that, you know, like, it's pretty good. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna be it. Thanks again for watching this video. You might see more of this. I'll probably just be covering a bunch of other different topics as time goes on. I got a few topics in the magazine that I want to just bang out, you know what I mean? So, see ya, and have a good one.